Okay, guys, good evening. 6 o'clock, top of the hour on channel. What number should we call this, K? I guess News with Z-Man channel, I guess. Detroit, Michigan channel. Broadcasting. All right, we had a good show on the first one. We'll have another good one here tonight. And my goodness, how the heck you been, Mike? When was the last time I heard from you? Did you know about my mother passing and my dad passing in 2024? It's already been 2 years already. Lucy, you home already? I couldn't remember if you heard about that or not. You still there? Everybody listening, huh? And you watched the first show? Yeah. Ah, you see he was up there on top there, Pine Eagle. You remember Mike? Yeah, we still got a few more minutes before the top of the hour. 5:54. Yeah, and it's muggy and cold, and my head hurts when the humidity is bad. I think the humidity's bad. Wow, Benny's coming out with a lot of short ones tonight. Okay, just came out with an 8-minute one on Disney. That's like number 5. Okay, let's start off. We'll start off with this short one here. It's 3 minutes. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Tim's late again. Carol, I think, is busy. I think she said she was busy.
Words that so often distract the human heart. They walk beside us simply because they choose to. And among all the companions that have shared our fires and our roads, none have done so with greater faith than the dog. The dog does not know our politics, nor arguments about money and pride. He does not measure a man by the weight of his wallet or the titles written before his name. The dog knows only the oldest truth there is, whether a man is kind, whether he is loyal, whether he comes home. In a world where men often forget themselves, the dog remembers what we were meant to be. Watch a dog greet the morning. There is
I
no
think this is a
cynicism
good
in
one
him,
to start the
no
show with,
long
Dave.
accounting of yesterday's failures. The sun rises and he rises with it, ready again for the simple miracles of the day. The smell of the grass, the sound of footsteps approaching the door, the joy of running simply because the earth beneath him is wide and he is alive upon it. And when sorrow comes, as it does to every life that breathes, the dog does not stand apart from it. He sits quietly beside you. He does not lecture. He does not ask for explanations. He offers only the steady presence of a creature who has decided that your suffering is his concern as well. There is a kind of courage in that which many men spend their entire lives trying to learn. For the dog loves without the calculations that burden the human heart. He gives his loyalty freely and completely, knowing that the world is uncertain, knowing that time moves quickly, yet giving it all the same. In that simple act lies a lesson older than any book ever written. The lesson is this, that love to mean anything at all must be given without guarantee. And perhaps that is why the bond between a man and a dog feels so sacred, because somewhere deep inside us, beneath the noise of ambition and worry, we recognize in that creature a reflection of the person we might have been, if the world had not made us so cautious. The dog reminds us that joy can still be simple, that loyalty can still be absolute, that companionship, true companionship, is not measured in grand gestures, but in quiet moments shared side by side as the evening settles across the land. So if you wish to know something hopeful about the human condition, look not to the towering monuments of our civilization, nor to the speeches of powerful men. Look instead to the dog waiting patiently at the door. For in that patient heart lives a faith in us that we must spend our lives trying to deserve. And as long as such faith exists in this world, humanity, like the faithful dog beside it, will endure. We are the sons and daughters of Thomas Paine.
So how was that one, you guys? All right, I got a lot of short ones, so I'm gonna do this one.
We're not seeing reality. You are seeing a projection. And the craziest part? You are the one projecting it. Look at this. These are not faces. They are patterns, frequencies layered on top of each other. Change the pattern, and the face changes. The form was never there, only the combination of frequencies. Now imagine an old film projector. The film runs, frame by frame, fast enough to look continuous. You think you're watching a story, but it's just images passing by. Reality works the same way. This is exactly what's happening right now. Everything you call reality is just vibrational information being interpreted. It's not solid. It's not fixed. It's a field of data rendered by your mind. The problem is, you got lost in the movie. You identified with the image, with the character, with the story. And you forgot. You're not inside the screen. You are the one watching. You are the one running the film. You are the observer. And in the very code of reality, the observer doesn't just see. It creates. Here's what changes everything. You don't change the movie by touching the screen. You change the movie by changing the one who is watching. The ego is the character inside the story. The I am is the one holding the projector. When you identify with the ego, you react to the film. When you remember who you are, you begin to edit it. So next time reality doesn't look the way you want, don't try to change the scene. Change your internal state. Because reality doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. You are the one holding the controller. Common code if you want to learn how to reprogram the movie from within. See you on the other side.
Okay, how was that one? Now we'll do Benny. His latest one that came out.
Every day.
A $100 million on a single product? What the heck is going on? Those idiots have failed me for the last time. Get out of my way!
I love this audience. I love you actually watching right now. We've built this channel together. I feel like we're connected, and I would never want to unnecessarily anger or offend anybody in this audience. Sometimes you can't help it because you do talk about controversial things here on YouTube on a news channel, but we do our level-headed best to serve our audience and do so humbly. Of course, the opposite is true with a company like Disney and with some of the Disney stars who Disney has decided to invest their most famous and lucrative IPs into. If I decided to burn this channel to the ground, what I would do is I would simply betray everyone and everything that we've built here. And I'd tell everybody to F off, and then I'd never want to see them again. Which is precise. I mean, again, This is precisely what Rachel Ziegler did in this video right before they launched the Snow White catastrophe featuring this non-white actress. So here we go. This is what she had to say for the last time.
Come on. Go vote blue. And if you disagree with this sentiment, just hit the unfollow button. I don't need your business.
What happened next was that the audience responded to this by saying, we agree with you and we would like to not give you business. Snow White bombed so badly at the box office that Disney actually canceled all their other live action remakes, canceled Black Rapunzel, let down your dreads, let down your weave, right? Replaced all of the race swapped actors with white actors, decided to light on fire. This is a tax loss, staggering 170 million was lost here on Snow White. And also, as it was the worst performing live action remake in 10 years, stick it directly to Rachel Ziegler, who was forced to watch this in a not private screening. We actually checked. We called the theater. Obviously, this is a golden clip for all time. Always remember Free Palestine. I can't believe this was in her promotional post. This was part of her contract. This is part of her promotional post contract. Race swapped Little Mermaid also flopped, possibly the worst 2023 opening ever. It's just flop after flop after flop. Whoa. Rotten Tomatoes, 39%. Yikes. Jungle Book, not good, ladies and gentlemen. Beauty and the Beast, also complete and total trash. Has Disney made really anything of no? I mean, these have been really bad. 57% here. Rotten Tomatoes. Woke Little Mermaid. They tried their hardest. Still not pulling in what you want. Ooh, She-Hulk, 32% audience score. Star Wars Acolyte, 19% audience score. Black Captain America, 46% audience score. Captain Marvel, Girl Bossin, 45%. Rise of Skywalker, 51%. The Girl Boss, The Last Jedi, 41%. It's just been nightmare after nightmare after nightmare. The Great Awakening at Disney has been a catastrophic and financial failure. Here is Disney stock. This is Disney stock year to date. This is Disney stock over the last 5 years. It's the biggest media company on earth. What's gone on? Boy, we thought that all the streaming and all the people watching everything, and we own every brand. We own Star Wars. We own everything in Lucas, Marvel. We have all. What the hell's been going on here? This was like the last Avengers movie is released, and then suddenly complete and total collapse. It has been a financial disaster. Disney going woke. They could do no wrong for all of these years as they were building out their IPs, as they were consolidating and buying up everything they could get their hands on. Everybody had high hopes for Star Wars. They had high hopes for Phase 4 of Marvel, and then total collapse. You can see that collapse right here. It was really bad. You know, this is a collapse from 200 in their stock down to like 80 right here. Ugh. Okay. So the stock is down 65%. That's not good. I mean, what is that telling you? You got to get rid of some people. And that is exactly what Disney has done. Marvel undergoes mass layoffs amid company-wide Disney cuts. Disney just got a brand new CEO, and they are slashing and burning. They started with Pixar, and it's like almost the executives were waiting for permission to do this because they knew they needed to get rid of the woke rot. And here it goes. Marvel has been impacted by today's Disney layoffs, affected staff reductions in the offices of Marvel Entertainment in New York and Marvel Studios in Burbank. 8% of the workforce has been let go. Woof. Layoffs are in most departments, including film and TV production, comics, franchise, finance, legal, visual development. The cuts in the visual development area said to be significant, with Marvel Studios retaining a small team to oversee the hiring of artists on a project-by-project basis, contractors going forward. Whoa. Disney is laying off 1,000 employees. Only a skeleton crew remains at Marvel, which, of course, hasn't had a financially successful film in 5 years. Look at this. In a company memo, Justin Morris says Disney will be eliminating roles in some parts of the company. They're going to notify employees 1,000 roles impacted largely due to realignment of the marketing operations. The marketing operations perfectly defined by the Pixar head saying, we are not making woke LGBT alphabet propaganda. We're not making hundreds of millions of dollars worth of therapy, is an exact quote from the Pixar executive. You can hear them screaming out. Kevin Feige literally just said all that DEI shit and women never happened. It's doomsday time. Woo! Time to make money again. Translation, just forget about the MCU, please. Threw away all of Phase 4 and 5. LOL. There you go. So what's the point of the multiverse saga? Fun to see, ladies and gentlemen. The layoffs, will it result in success for the actual film? I don't know, man. They haven't released the trailer yet. But apparently they showed a trailer and everyone went ballistic. And they're bringing back every single star from the actual productive stages. They're casting white people for white roles in Rapunzel, Tangled. Is there hope yet? I don't know. I guess we'll see. Pixar's deleting all wokeness out of their children's films. It is not a high bar. Anyway, let me know what you think, ladies and gentlemen. We find it refreshing, quite frankly, because Disney is an American icon and institution, and it should be preserved, not destroyed by the woke. But that's up to them. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe.
Okay, that's the first one. I got a short one here, you guys. It's interesting. She had a lot of views on this one.
Ever seen a politician say this? So the Treasury Secretary, due to recent changes or recent policy updates, is urging Americans not to withhold taxes on their paychecks. So he's saying this year, change your withholding if you haven't already done. This is his words. I'm going to show you. He's saying changing your withholding if you haven't already done it, and your paycheck will increase basically This is him and what he said.
I want to encourage everyone out there watching today to change their withholding if they haven't already done so, because if you change your withholding, then you will get an automatic real wage increase, be on a weekly or a monthly basis, and you will be able to keep more of your money this calendar year.
Do with that what you will, folks. Investigate on your own. Trump has been saying for a while that he wants to completely get rid of the federal income tax. So are we moving towards that? I have no idea. But I do know that we've uncovered a lot of fraud. And I feel that a lot of Americans right now are viewing taxes a bit different, a bit on the salty side this tax season. So this actually just happened. I have never, ever seen a politician say this. So the Treasury Secretary, due to recent changes or recent policy updates, is urging Americans not to withhold taxes on their paychecks. So he's saying...
That was a repeat, wasn't it, Flying Eagle? Yeah. She had like 1,500, I don't know if it was 15,000 likes or whatever, but she had a big one on that one. Like I said, I got a lot of shorts tonight. What do I got this one? Oh, I got a short DJ Flying Eagle.
Validated verbally yet about the third term from the standpoint of an absolute with the visuals of the Congress and the media letting you know that. But he said it in other speeches where he said, what is this? Well, we are third term? We're a third term, aren't we? He said all these kind of things. They've been easing that back into society because of what? The liberals out there saying what? No Keens, no Keens, no Keens. No. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 1 of the United States Constitution only says 4 years in a term. It never specified for Congress to put term limits on the president. Now, you don't have to like that, but you can also love that, whichever way you want to look at it. But nowhere in our original Constitution does it say that Congress is to put term limits on the president like they did in 1951. That was a violation of the Constitution. The same people who yell all the time, oh, the Constitution, violated it.
Can we play this one?
Now, we're not going to go over 2017 to 2021 and break down everything again. Just a few things to bring us up to speed to what happened this past week, some stuff that you can see. But for sake of tying in, so 2017 to 2021 was a resetting of the legislative branch. 2021 to 2025 by laws, all this is outlined in laws and orders. 2021 to 2025 was a resetting of the executive branch. And right now you're watching the resetting of the judicial branch. It's judge this, judge that, court this, court that, court said this, court blocked that, judge blocked this, judge blocked. It's all judge. Court. And if you saw what's on the docket for President Trump, Donald J. Trump versus United States government, if you saw what's all on the docket right now, chill bumps, baby. It's about to be some fun starting up. But you got to let it play out. They are taking care of your foundation first. They're taking care of the high priority and working their way down. And when it's cleaned out, you should what? Appreciate that. So getting back to President Trump, if you think that he walked in as an outsider on the first try and won in 2016, I've already proven how military would have already been involved. Okay. And here's how.
All right.
Here's how you know that.
Go lay down.
And it's going to tie into what I'm saying. This is so freaking funny, but it's also freaking awesome for every patriot listening. It's even better because something that just happened in the last few weeks, months, if you will, that adds to it. All right. So in 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2024, for the first time in U.S. history, the National Guard were activated for the elections. You cannot be at a poll anywhere in this nation, ladies and gentlemen, in a uniform, unless you're on official duty, which would have to be presidential, because the election is statewide, all 50 states. So that's federal. That's Title 10 presidential. There's no, now listen, this is very key. I've shown you where all the Title 10 orders are for the California movement and all the others, I say movement, the military movement, that kind of movement. The Texas National Guard, the Texas, also all the other National Guard that went to Texas, the reserve components, all those Title 10s are in executive orders. In 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2024, the National Guard, all over nationalguard.mil, deployed to polls. Title 18, federal law. Title 18 is criminal procedures of federal, so federal. Title 18, Section 592, you cannot be at a poll anywhere. Now, President Trump hasn't validated verbally yet about the third term from the standpoint of an absolute.
Okay, I got a cue video. Oh no, who's that in the window here? Huh? Who's that? Huh? You know?
Tap in that car, got the. What's welcome back to Out of the
This one's a
Darkness.
short one,
I
4
am
minutes.
Q, and I'm bringing you fantastic news. I love being able to bring
Okay,
good
yeah.
news when good news is due. So I spoke to you guys months ago about the importance of John Brennan's case being tried in South Florida. Getting out of Virginia, getting out of the DC area, getting out of New York, getting out of those cesspools of activist liberal judges and getting into an actual constitutional conservative state like Florida, and finding judges that will actually properly divide the Constitution, properly interpret the Constitution, was going to make all the difference. The problem is that there are a lot of attorneys that are still waiting, U.S. attorneys that are still awaiting being voted on and confirmed through the Senate. So Donald Trump, a year and a half into his presidency, is still waiting, getting his attorneys through. So we're still relying on a lot of attorneys from the past administration. So today, the DOJ, now that Pam Bondi is gone and they're actually working to get people prosecuted, fired the U.S. attorney that was handling the case of John Brennan. It was becoming quite evident that since July that they have been doing everything they could to slow walk, as the DOJ said, the trial. They said they wanted it done. They wanted to bring charges. They needed the charges brought immediately. But the U.S. attorney has been dragging their feet, saying, we don't know that we have enough evidence. The case is weak. How is it a weak case? The last I checked, to give false statements to Congress, to lie under oath, was perjury. I don't know how that's a weak case. It's proven that he lied under oath. He's even admitted to misremembering and giving, well, that wasn't, I learned more afterwards, and all of these code words for, yeah, I thought I could get away with it. But then in addition to that, John Brennan has been found to be wholly unreliable as it pertains to Spygate. We know that he was spying on the president of the United States. Now, mind you, John Brennan was the head of the CIA. The CIA is not supposed to be operating within the borders of the United States. Now, we know, wink, wink, nod, nod, that they still do. We understand that. I mean, it's all but been admitted by the CIA and by the Congress, but they're not supposed to. They're certainly not supposed to be engaged in espionage against a duly elected president. So President Trump and the current DOJ, the Attorney General, has said enough is enough. We're not going to keep monkeying around with this. If you're not going to try this case and you're not going to bring official charges in Florida, we're not going to waste this opportunity to start putting criminals in prison. You're done. We'll find somebody else who will. And I say, hallelujah, amen, thank God. It's time to start bringing people to account. It's time to start making people accountable again. I love it. Let me know what you guys think about this. I think it's fantastic news. I'll see you guys next time. Be blessed.
That was a short one. Gary, you made it. Okay, I got that one guy. I gotta find him. Got him somewhere. Oh, let's do this one. 5 minutes. Do this one.
Like a tragic natural disaster in Texas. But when you peel back the curtain, you start seeing military-grade tech, wiped satellite data, and children vanishing under cover of darkness. This wasn't a flood, it was a strike, a weather weapon strike. And the targets? The children of patriots. Weather warfare exposed. On Independence Day, as Americans celebrated freedom, a biblical flood swept through central Texas, killing at least 27 people, including 9 children, and leaving over 20 young girls missing from a summer camp called Camp Mystic, the epicenter of the storm. But this wasn't just any camp. Camp Mystic is known as a haven for children of military families, whistleblowers, and Christian conservative leaders. And that made it a target. According to white hat military sources, the flood wasn't natural. It was geoengineered, a weaponized storm activated with precision. Satellite radar picked up microwave pulse anomalies 48 hours prior. Spiral-shaped cloud formations, unnatural and artificial, appeared overhead. Then, just before impact, the NOAA servers mysteriously lost satellite records from the area. This wasn't an act of God, it was a deep state operation, masked as climate chaos. The missing girls and GPS convoys, the most disturbing intel, 20 girls vanished and 7 GPS anomalies were tracked leaving the flood zone during the 90-minute blackout. These convoys were escorted by unmarked, non-governmental black ops vehicles. White hat operatives suspect these were imposters posing as federal agents, taking advantage of the chaos to abduct children under the radar. At least 4 of the missing girls have direct family ties to ongoing investigations into elite trafficking and bioweapon profiteering. This was not random. This was targeted. Trump's response, military rescue instead of FEMA. Within hours, President Trump, not FEMA, activated Emergency Executive Order 2771, authorizing a special military rescue operation. The mission was led by White Hat Special Command units, bypassing the deep state-controlled federal infrastructure. Result? Over 850 survivors rescued, including multiple girls believed to be lost. More than 240 water rescues were executed by the 101st Airborne Division, which had been stationed in Texas since January under Trump's directive. These soldiers didn't just find people. They found evidence, unmarked electronics, radiation anomalies, and military-grade tech debris. All signs point to an engineered environmental strike. Geoengineering networks exposed patriots. Who funds these weather weapons? Start with the usual suspects. Bill Gates has invested billions in climate manipulation tech, including cloud seeding balloons and artificial atmospheric injections. George Soros bankrolls UN-backed resilient zoning programs in Texas, preparing for land seizures after man-made disasters. And behind them all, the globalist financial puppeteers, BlackRock and Vanguard, both with ownership stakes in geoengineering contractors linked to military operations. The World Economic Forum, their leaked internal docs label Texas as a sovereignty threat zone. Why? Because Texas still believes in faith, freedom, and firearms. Land grab under cover of chaos. The deep state has a long history of using weather to erase communities. They burned down Paradise, California. They torched Lahaina, Maui, and now they're targeting Kerrville, Texas. After every natural disaster, they invoke Agenda 2030 protocols to seize land from displaced victims. They call it sustainable development. We call it what it is, strategic takeover. Even in Los Angeles, landowners like Grant Cardone are pushing back, suing local governments for what he calls the biggest land grab in U.S. history. The playbook is clear. Destroy, declare, confiscate. But this time, it's different. Trump's team is blocking all disaster-linked land seizures. Every fake claim tied to Agenda 2030 is being invalidated. Cleaning House, NOAA, FEMA, DHS under investigation. As of this update, over 110 federal employees from NOAA, FEMA, and DHS have had their clearances revoked, pending investigation for data tampering, obstruction, and unauthorized weather operations. The swamp is being drained from the inside out. EBS warning and final message. Sources confirm emergency broadcast system protocols are being prepared. Expect alerts and encrypted messages over the next 7 days. This is not a drill. And to the deep state, there will be no hiding. Not in Geneva, not in Brussels, not even in your dumbs beneath Denver. The light is coming. The battle is no longer for control. The battle is for our children, for our future, and for the soul of this nation.
Hey, how was that one? I got 2 new ones, you guys. She just came out with a 2-minute one. And the other guy's 6 minutes. She got her funny glasses on.
Platform. Approved. Here's a coupon. This is going to boost your algorithm, and we're going to promote you. Thanks. Welcome to TikTok. What is that you are drinking out of? I'm sorry. What is that? Oh, this. Oh, that's my president right here. That's my president. I love him. I'm very patriotic, and I support our president. Count band, get out. Get out. Get out. Welcome to TikTok. What's your purpose on the platform? Yes, I am LGBTQRMNOPQBINGO, and I identify as a mosquito hawk, a trans mosquito hawk. Absolutely. Welcome to this platform. Here is a coupon. We're going to boost you. We're going to promote you, and you should have up to 2 trillion followers in no time. Thank you. Enjoy TikTok. Welcome to TikTok. What is your purpose on the platform?
She just came out with that one, Kay.
Absolutely. You can stay. Absolutely. Welcome to TikTok. And what is...
And now the one guy that just came out. Six minutes on him.
It is about 3 o'clock here in the afternoon in California, April 18th, the year of our Lord 2026. This is the news you need. It is breaking news just hours ago. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, Secretary Rubio, Pete Hegseth are in the Situation Room right now. Iran just closed the Straits of Hormuz and have attacked various other vessels that they consider their enemy. Just 24 hours ago, the Iranian IRGC basically said, we can capitulate. The Straits of Hormuz are open, they're wide open. This morning, just hours ago, they said they have closed the Straits of Hormuz. Those are international waters, ladies and gentlemen, and they fired upon various vessels that are trying to proceed, but they're letting Chinese vessels with oil to pass through. Now, what's going to happen? Let me put it to you this way. The president and his cabinet, Secretary Hegseth, Rubio, they knew about this contingent. They don't trust Iran. Many of us don't trust Iran and the IRGC. They were prepared for this contingent. Having said that, what's going to happen? Well, the IRGC now has pushed the button. They're going to be obliterated. I'm going to tell you this right now. I just got off the phone with my team at EPAC. I have various people that are retired out of the Department of Defense and the Pentagon. The gentleman he basically endorsed my book. He was a counter and intelligence analyst and former CIA, a judge. I'm going to be speaking with him. He was not able to come on, but these particular people that are out of DC are political insiders. Iran is about 8 hours ahead of the East Coast, okay? Right now, so right now they're about 11 or 12 hours. But this happened this morning, several hours ago. But from what the intel and the comms that we heard, the IRGC, their vessels, their fast-moving boats, etc., have fired upon particular vessels that they consider enemies. So now, be prepared. Be prepared. The president is in the Situation Room as we speak. They're going to put together a plan. And remember what let me put it to you this way. The president just doesn't speak off the cuff so much. A lot of that rhetoric that you hear from him is by design. He used it specifically to, I guess what you might say, grab the ire of the Democrats, grab the ire of many of the pacifists on this planet. Passivity will only draw fire. When they know the IRGC and these people that screamed death to America, death to Christians, they killed the Christians and the Jews, they killed their own people, they will kill Americans. They will kill anyone that doesn't align with our ideology. When they do this, they will when they shut the terms, they will act on it. The president was listening. So having said that, if we do not take their threats seriously, they will act. And they're acting now. So now, the president and our military well, let me put it to you this way. You'll be able to hear the explosion here in California. Pretty much at this particular point, the president and our military are going to turn the country of Iran into a pile of dirt and sand. This is the last straw. This will not be tolerated. The IRGC has vessels in the water in the Straits of Hormuz, and they're firing on vessels. Apparently no one was hurt or killed, but they're turning them around. So pay very close attention how the president takes care of this. Like I said, he uses language that people would, the Democrats, he would kill an entire civilization. He knew what he was saying. He tries to draw their ire. He's the president of the United States. He's not going anywhere. Okay? He wants, when you know where people's buttons are, you can push them anytime you want. He loves pushing those buttons. As soon as he says, and he thinks about this stuff all the time. I swear, I know he does. I've talked to people, deep insiders. He knows exactly how to push buttons. Now, he's going to push a button on the IRGC in the country of Iran, and he's going to turn it into a pile of dirt and sand. Hey, everybody.
Okay, how's that one? Fine Eagle, I got another one from that one guy. 5 minutes.
9 million DOJ Epstein documents, every one. And here is what they found on Trump. 40 documents.
Oh, wait, did we
not
play this
damning
one?
documents. 40 documents total. Every sworn deposition.
Yep. We played that one. Sorry, guys. All right, Trish time.
We We really needed that power slide.
That would have broken the bank.
Let's see if Firefly can help.
What we have learned, and what perhaps NATO learned,
About 6 minutes.
is that we don't need to pick up the phone, and we don't need to tell you. But when we do engage in something like this, we expect our friends and allies to be there, just like we were there for them with Ukraine. And if you're not there for us, then we're going to have a problem. And that includes all of these countries, including Italy. Italy very much in the crossfire right now with Donald Trump as Giorgia Meloni, who used to have a really nice relationship with him, is being called out by the president, one, because she, again, wanted to say this is America and Israel's war and Italy's not going to do anything, and two, because she decided to take him on vis-a-vis the Pope. So now there is a dust-up, and Trump is saying, hey, you know what? Italy, you go do your thing. We're not going to help. We're not going to help. I mean, we got bases there. We spend lots of money there. We don't need to help you. We don't need to have any part of this. And so I think this is a relationship that has soured, not to say it couldn't be improved at some point, but I think some damage has been done. Here's Maria, who, by the way, is Italian by background. I love Italy. I'm just going to say I love Italy and I love Giorgia Meloni. So I'm very, very disappointed in all this. I think she's talking her book to a certain extent, right? Because she's got the Pope and the Vatican right there. Although if you go to Italy, you know, people aren't that Catholic. They're Catholic ethnically speaking, but I don't think they're like super, super into the church. In fact, the church is kind of dying over there. It's one thing I've always noted, and it's been going on for decades, really, in Italy. But she had to, for whatever reason, I guess, defend the Pope because she's got the Vatican there in Rome. So she may have been talking her book. I don't know. He was just not impressed that she wasn't willing to help vis-a-vis Iran. And then, you know, she had to ding him on the Pope. And he told Maria, who's, as I said, a American Italian, we're kind of done with her. Watch.
What Europe has done with immigration, most of the countries, not all, what they've done with immigration is horrible.
Do we still have the same relationship with Italy right now and Giorgia Meloni?
No. She's been negative. Anybody that turned us down for helping with this Iran situation, we do not have the same relationship. Just so you know, Italy gets a lot of oil from the Strait. You can call it the Strait of Hormuz or the Hormuz Strait. I said, which is better? They said, either is okay, but you can call it either one. The only thing you can't call it is the Trump Strait. They don't like that idea.
So, again, Italy not stepping up to the plate, just like Spain was not willing to, just like France was not willing to, just like UK, just like Germany. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. And so as a result of this, he's licking his wounds saying, okay, well, we got this mission accomplished. So why am I going to continue on with these jokers when they're never going to be there for me? And here's Georgia. I want to show you, I believe this is yesterday's tape. She's speaking out against President Trump and in defense of the Pope right here with reporters.
Penso che quello che ho detto è quello che penso, che le dichiarazioni in particolare sul pontefice fossero
In Italiano. So I'm going to turn that down. And basically, just to clarify what she's saying is she really didn't appreciate what he said about the Pope and that she thinks that religious leaders need to be kept separate from government leaders, etc. And that is, as I said, perhaps an example of Georgia talking her own book, but the president, again, did not appreciate it. He hasn't appreciated what the Pope has said. The Pope has come out against this war in Iran. And in fact, as recently as today, I saw some sound of him on an airplane talking about how we need, this is the Pope, how we need more integration and more migration throughout Europe, which, by the way, has not gone so well, right? Has not gone so well for most of Europe. So he's pushing this idea that's very much at odds with what the president feels. And by the way, if we're honest, what Giorgia Meloni really feels, because she has not been exactly what you would say all that welcoming. She's not really embraced this idea of immigration in Italy. But perhaps the biggest sticking point for one President Trump is that the Pope, who's supposed to be about world peace and about human life, doesn't seem to be recognizing that, you got about 40,000 people that have died in Iran since the start of this, and they're talking about executing more. This came up on the White House lawn today with a reporter saying, did you know that they were going to execute more people, including a woman? And hear his response.
Tell that to
That Iran is going to. Did you just hear that? Iran is going to execute 4 people, including a woman.
Okay, we're going to try that again because I realized the volume was a little bit low. It's just a short soundbite. Watch.
Tell that to the Pope. You want to patch things up with the Pope? That Iran is going to. Did you just hear that? Iran is going to execute 4 people, including a woman.
He said, tell that to the Pope. In other words, there's a certain level of hypocrisy going on. It's great that the Pope can sit there and say, hey, we want no war, we want no war. But at some point, like, you need to recognize when a country's doing something pretty terrible to its own people and another country wants to step up and say, hey, we're going to secure this thing for everybody. Maybe actually your allegiance ought to be with the country that's making the world safe. Just saying, just saying. Oh, maybe I should tell that to the lefty media as well, because the lefty media kind of seems to almost not want world peace. I mean, I'm like, why are you guys always on the other side? Like always, always, always. It's gotten a little ridiculous. I mean, I'm all for, I call the president out when I need to call the president out, right? Like just as I'd call Biden out. And if Biden did something good, I don't know that he did, but if he did, I'd be happy to praise him, okay? Praise where praise is due, criticism where criticism is due. You know my allegiance. I'm certainly right of center. And you know what? I just don't want you to tax me. And I want government to be small and to sort of stay out of our lives and not to tell me that a man can have a baby. And then, we might just be okay.
Go again. A man can have a baby. Hey, we got second one here.
One stop without Ilhan Omar, getting kind of desperate. Ilhan Omar suddenly doing a media blitz, going on every single lefty show she can imagine. Well, there's a reason for that. She's desperate. She's nervous because she knows they're closing in. You heard what J.D. Vance recently said about her and the belief now that she committed immigration fraud. You know that he's very worried about why the $250 million feeding our future thing came right out of her district. And why suddenly, if you connect the dots, she's worth $30 million after having been down about 50,000. It doesn't make sense, right? Well, I mean, unless it does. And I mean, really does. So she's getting desperate. She knows they're on to her. And she's trying to just toss off this feeding the future thing. Look, she's pretending like she doesn't even know how much money it is. Commit this to memory. I certainly have $250 million, a nice round number, easy to remember. Somehow she thinks it's 230. I mean, the anchor guy had to even correct her. What?
Now 230 million that has been.
Is it, well, 250 is what they think.
Yeah.
Misuse funds meant for child nutrition.
Yeah, 230 to 250. There's been about 77 or so. That have been indicted. Many of them have taken plea agreements.
That makes it. They got to make it hard for you, right? Just in general, not because you got anything to do with it.
Yeah.
But when he can point and say, well, this actually happened.
I mean, it doesn't make it hard for me. But it does make it hard for, the average Somali business owner.
There you go.
It makes it hard for the average immigrant business owner. It makes it hard for the average Black business owner because it does create this cloud of suspicion and obviously it's become very politicized, and it will continue to be politicized as we get closer to November. And the level of harassment people are dealing with, even.
Whoa, okay, so now she's going to go into harassment because
coffee shops
with. We need to feel bad for her. Right? It's so harassing for her. We need to feel so bad. So she's going to hit the harassment thing, poor me, my poor community. But she's also sort of tossing it off like, oh, it's just a political thing. It's just a political thing. $250 $50 million that she initiated. And that's just a political thing. And by the way, all the people, she can't remember how many people, right, have been indicted either. It's somewhere around 84, but she's trying to downplay that. She's trying to 230 million. Oh, maybe it's 70 something. She can't remember any of the numbers. She doesn't want to remember any of the numbers. She's trying to brush it off like it is politics as usual. I'm telling you, this is not politics as usual. You have $19 billion total that's missing in the state of Minnesota. They're talking about estimates from the Manhattan Institute of $180 billion missing in California. By the way, you're not hearing this on the mainstream media. No one's doing it. I mean, this was reported just the other day, I think, by our friends over at Media Research Center. They are not covering this at all. In fact, ABC and NBC, here we go, they have refused to cover any of it. Ever since, Dr. Oz sounded the alarm on what was going on in California, here we go. They have not bothered. ABC and NBC have not spent a second on their flagship morning or evening newscasts informing any viewers of the billions of dollars that have been scammed from U.S. taxpayers. You see, there's a reason for that. They are trying to pretend it is politics. And this is what she's out trying to do at this moment in time on various programs. Let's go back. She wants to have everybody feel bad for her, you see, and her community, you see, because it's really just costing her community. And she expands the community. It's not just the Somalis, it's the immigrant community, it's the Black community, it's everyone that she wants on her side kind of community. Ilhan.
Their cameras harassing all of these business owners.
And daycares.
And
right?
daycare centers
daycare
where people have not been able to take their children because they're scared. Now.
I mean, did the daycares even exist, right? I mean, the daycares we saw, there were no children inside. No. The Leering Center, they weren't doing any learning or any leering or anything, it seems, inside that center. But she's out. She's pushing herself with this narrative and trying to gin up support among the base. And you know this because it wasn't just that little podcast. It was this guy's podcast, Hassan Piker, where she's touting him, putting him up on a pedestal, saying he's the future of the party. Well, you know what? I'll take that. I'll take that all day long because I want him to be the future of the party. I want her to be the future of the party. I want all the nut jobs out there as the future of the party because the nuttier they are, the more we win, okay? In the end, this is actually good for us, but it's a little bit scary because on the way to this is some scary rhetoric and some scary stuff, and she does actually think he's the future. Watch this.
Spring, the unofficial new year for tool people. Celebrate spring savings at Harbor Freight.
University of Phoenix feels built for real life because it is. Some schools.
That should be the problem. The problem shouldn't be the streamer who understands where the base is, who's coming from a place of integrity and honesty and supporting a candidate that really fits that 90-10 issue the exact way that it should. Because if we are to have a representative democracy, the people have to represent the interest of those that they are seeking to govern.
Yeah.
No, and somehow he does. Hassan Piker is who she is holding up as the guy who is representing the interests of the entire base of the Democrat Party. Okay, I'll take it. I'll take it. Like I said, you want all the crazies representing the Democrat Party. But I'll tell you, there's a reason she's doing this now. And it's because of one thing and one thing only. You've got Treasury. You've got the IRS. You've got the White House with J.D. Vance and his entire team of investigators. I include Stephen Miller in that because he's high up in that chain, and they get 100 investigators on the ground there in Minneapolis. You've also got, did I miss anyone? Wait a second. We've got IRS, we've got Treasury. Oh, the FBI. You get the FBI as well, and the Justice Department looking into it. So it's a lot of groups, okay? The feds are all over this. I mean, Minnesota can pretend like nothing happened, but the feds are on it. JD's leading it.
I'm worried about the immigration fraud. I'm also worried about what did Ilhan Omar know about what was happening in the Somali community, and why was nobody looking into it until, frankly, Donald Trump came along?
Unbelievable. Again, I go back to that filing. She did this to herself, right? She really did. I mean, for goodness sakes, why did she tell us all she was worth $30 million? Unless, of course, you have to be worth that much if you're going to be purchasing, the valuation has to be high. If you're going to purchase a share in her husband's company, his venture capital firm, and if he's going to, I'm saying theoretically, cleanse it for you, maybe over in South Africa where they were working on some South African solar panel ideas and ventures. I mean, or if he's going to cleanse it allegedly in places like Somalia or in Kenya where they have very loosey-goosey banking laws, well, then guess what? You're going to have a very high valuation. So she may not have had a choice there, may not have had a choice. Carter, thank you for the generosity. Yeah, I don't know if she believes in democracy at all. I mean, I don't think any of these people. Wait till you hear what I'm going to play you from this Hassan Piker dude. I mean, they don't believe in a democracy. They believe in we take from you and we redistribute as we see fit. And by the way, if we line our pockets along the way, so be it, because that's exactly what was happening and that's exactly what they were doing. There are a lot of concerns as well that there was fraud involved in her immigration, etc. I'm telling you guys, she's in a lot of trouble. She's in a lot of trouble, and it's coming at a time when the nation is looking to purge ourselves of any of these so-called traitors that do not have America's best interests at heart.
Yeah, sorry if I played that already. Okay, I got George on TikTok, a two-parter, about 4 minutes, about Texas.
That patriots in Texas have had enough. And they just did something absolutely amazing and quintessential to finally put an end to stop the Islamization of Texas. The question is, how did we get here? How did a red state like Texas become an enclave for Islamists from the Middle East and around the world who came in with their different ideas, their ideology, their Mohammed, their Allah, their God, came in and set up these bases, these cities, and tried to run them with Sharia and are actively trying now to make Sharia law a thing? How did that happen? Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's because you and I, out of our magnanimity, our benevolence, our generosity, funded it. Yeah, we funded Texas becoming what it is, an enclave for Muslims. Because since 2017, according to this finding presented to the House Judiciary on Sharia and political Islam, U.S. taxpayers spent $4 billion routing to Islamic entities nationwide. This is insane, and this lady breaks it down.
Texas is ground zero for the Islamic conquest of America. We are deep into a 1,400-year Islamic immigration conquest pattern, a patient, relentless strategy of settlement, infiltration, and eventual dominance. The Muslim Brotherhood's 1991 explanatory memorandum entered in federal court calls it a, quote, civilization jihadist process to destroy the West from within. That plan has been capturing Texas for over 35 years. We now have over 330 mosques. CARE calls them, quote, our infrastructure. Erdogan calls them, quote, our barracks. At least 650 Islamic nonprofits channeling influence. Dozens of Islamic scholars and banks promoting Sharia compliance finance. More than $4 billion in taxpayer funds routed to Islamic entities since 2017. Our own money fueling our demise.
That's crazy, ladies and gentlemen. And this father went off at a school board meeting because his child's school was handing pamphlets for Sharia law and hijabs to students. Wow. Can't even believe what I'm reading.
The principal, 1 year ago, the principal on the same day, World Hijab Day, wore that hijab and said she loved it all caps. 1 year to the day later, on World Hijab Day, Sunday, Monday hits, they're putting our girls in Sharia. They're passing out Sharia pamphlets, hijabs, Qurans, understanding Islam, understanding Sharia. Sharia treats half of this room like, and these women are not, this is not a Muslim nation. This is a Christian nation. That principal knew what she was doing, And I am not believing that was one or two people at that front desk. Fire the principal. You tell the parents, don't go online to get information, but what did they get online? Marco told the truth. That's where they got the information, and you did. Online.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, part 2. What do you think of that news update here?
For calling all Muslims, dirty names and being a complete bigot and trying to get social media followers. So I speak the truth. But I also want to say, as someone whose entire family is Muslim, I'm not down with Sharia law. Sharia law says that women on that side of the room are worth half as much as men. Do you all agree with that? No, that is true. Why do you believe it's true? Sharia law says women are worth half as much as men. That is 100% true. That is 100% true. And I'll talk about
It's literally all true. They say the testimony of a woman isn't worth that of a man's. Like, that literally means a woman's word is like half a man's word. You need like 4 women, to come say something for it to be true, to be taken as witness. So I don't know what these people are like complaining about. Like, oh, that's not true. That's not what the hadith in Quran, wabadoo boo boo, that's what it meant. Come on.
I'll talk about ICE. I think what the Biden administration did was a travesty to open the borders and then 20 million illegals in this country. This is a country of immigrants. I'm an immigrant, but this is also a country of laws, and we have to abide by the immigration laws. I'm not down with ICE doing all the inhumane things the way that they're.
You should be down with it. Yeah, ICE is doing what they're supposed to do. By the way, just to fact check that lady, I think she said 330 mosques. It's actually like 350 plus an additional 650 Islamic nonprofit centers, organizations in Texas. So, I saw a video which is really disturbing. Like, if you look at it, they're everywhere.
All right. Sorry about those 2 guys. I'll make it up to you. I got some new ones. There's 1,000 views on this one.
This war, okay, telling you that paying temporarily a little more for gas is better than Iran bombing us. They aren't in the same fucking bracket as Benny Johnson's, Dan Bongino's. They're worth millions of dollars, $5 to $10 million. Your net worth is probably in the negative, much like mine. Okay, they might be in the same storm. Okay, but they're not in the same boat. They got you feeling bad because you're not happy with the way things are going, and you're not feeling more grateful, and you're not feeling more thankful for the perceived freedoms that you supposedly have. Don't feel bad. These people don't fucking get it because it doesn't fucking affect them. What are you paying? What, $10, $15, $20 more in gas every week? I mean, that's really breaking your budget. Tell me you don't fucking budget without telling me you don't fucking pay an extra $25 a week now, roughly, for gas, and that's for 2 cars, so that's $50 a week, which is 4 weeks, so that's $200 a month. For context, my grocery budget on a weekly basis runs about $200 to $225. So because I have to pay a little more for gas for a war that I don't agree with, for a country that I don't support, I have to take food out of my kids and my family's mouth in order to make that happen. But it's only temporary. Yeah, so was income tax at one point. Mom was going to bomb us off the... No, they weren't. They weren't. Well, then maybe we shouldn't let all these people here, but they're still here. They're still here. We're not deporting anyone anymore. Bombing Iran off the map isn't going to fix that, okay? These people don't get it because they're not in the same tax bracket as you. I want you to continue cheering on this storm, okay, while your boat's taking on water and full of holes, but their sails are completely filled with gold rails and they're just floating on by. We're not the fucking same. Benny Johnson, Dan Bongino, any of these other podcast bros out here running their mouths about black pillars and doomers. We're not the fucking same. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't affect you. You don't worry about your kids' lunch money. You don't worry about making sure that your kid can go to a decent school. Okay, you don't worry about making sure you can pay for sports dues so that your child can have the opportunity to do the things that he loves, even though you have to pinch pennies to make it happen. Worry about that. They got people to budget for them. Okay, they don't run their own budgets. And to those podcast bros, you need to remember who the fuck you're talking to. Who are you talking to? 99% of this fucking country is broke. Okay, we got some of them in the middle class that's holding everybody else up. And we're out here just fucked. Just fucked. So fuck every single fucking last one of you. Every single one of you. You're all millionaires. Of course this doesn't bother you. Of course it's easy for you to run for the narrative. Yeah, hell yeah. War, hell yeah. Fucking retards. That's what you are. You're retards. Shut all the fucking way up. Hey, good morning, listen.
She really gets it out there, just like that other lady, huh? Flying Eagle. The one I'm going to be playing here next.
Not all fake, but the photos and the weird videos and the Nutella. Not that that should be super shocking to anybody because nobody really believes anything anymore. And people had decided that it was fake before it even happened. You can thank the original moon landing footage for that skepticism. And Katy Perry, for being really honest. It really does beg the question as to why would they do this? And I had caught this video of somebody and they were talking about the DART program through NASA. And what the DART program is they send big rockets up into the sky to hit these asteroids that are headed towards Earth in order to knock them off course so that they do not hit Earth. Your next question is, well, why don't they just shoot them down or bomb them or, you know, do the thing that they do to the other countries, right? And that's a great question. And the answer that I found is because they can control, if they divert it, they can control where it goes. But if they bomb it, they cannot control where the pieces of the broken asteroid are going to go, and it could still hit the Earth and still be really bad. In my simpleton mind, that totally makes sense. And I'm here for that. That makes sense. What doesn't make sense to me is why they would do that now, but then just not tell anybody. Like, of all the fear porn stuff that you could put out there, why not just throw out a massive football-sized asteroid that's headed towards Texas? Unless it was fear porn that they couldn't control. Unless it wasn't just a massive asteroid, it was a life-ending asteroid. Can't control that fear porn. Can't control that narrative necessarily. You're going to have complete fucking panic. That's what you're going to. COVID was on the low scale of the type of panic that would ensue if they told you that a life-ending asteroid was headed towards Earth. So the running theory amongst that group of people is that the Artemis went up in order to knock this huge asteroid off of its course and so that it did not hit the Earth. You can get on board with that and let me tell you why. Do you remember back in like October timeframe, September timeframe, they're like, hey, listen, there's a mothership headed towards Earth and it's going to be here around Thanksgiving. We were like, fuck yeah, aliens, it's about time. And we got our turkey. We'll invite them, sit down for dinner. Like, we got to chat. Some shit's happening. And on for weeks, they're like, this huge mothership is coming and we can see it and it's light years away in November. And it just died out and we never talked about it again. Nobody ever talked about it again. Thanksgiving came and went. We all ate, we drank, we were merry, and nothing happened. What if there was a life-ending asteroid that was headed towards Earth? And it was slower than they anticipated. So they were thinking November, but then November didn't happen. And so maybe it was coming now. They quickly threw together this Artemis mission because it was kind of weird. Even the astronauts are kind of weird. One was an actor. Then that guy, Duffy, came out and he's like, they're all from Central Casting. And we're like, bro, what if they got the time of the mothership wrong? And what if this was a massive asteroid that was looking to take out the Earth? They sent up one of their DART rockets in order to knock it off course. In order to save the Earth. God forbid the government save the Earth. I know, but really if we all die, they die too. And I think if there's anything that these people fear more, it's death. Because I think they know that Jesus and God are real. And I think they know where they're going. Furthermore, there's been so much alien talk and space talk and all of this stuff. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's some shit going on. Up in the up or down in the ocean, wherever you think they come from. Okay. I think there's some shit going on, some conversation, maybe like a war that we don't really know about. And I think the Artemis had something to do with that. And I think the mothership that they were like is coming, I think that had something to do with it. The reason I can come up with that they would try to do this all of a sudden, because there's no distracting from the Iran war. There's no distracting from the Jeffrey Epstein files. There's no distracting from anything. Like, people are locked in about the Artemis in such a flippant, like, this is such bullshit way that you can't distract people with it. Boomers, maybe. I saw some boomers, the boomer generation, get real on board with it. But other than that, no, nobody believed this. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Enjoy your Friday.
Okay. She had two good ones there today. I got Benny on one with that girl. His title. He's laughing about it on this one, I think. Eight minutes. I got another queue at 7 minutes.
Sometimes you have to step back from a news cycle to properly understand the moment that you're living in. And there's this incredible timeline with American Eagle last year when they put out this Sydney Sweeney ad. It's only
Genes
10
are
seconds.
passed down
Listen
from
to this.
parents to offspring.
Genes are passed down.
Often
parents to
determining
offspring.
traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes.
Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Now, this, of course, went thermonuclear viral. It led to an absolute spike, parabolic spike, green candle in American Eagle's stock. It just broke the internet quite literally. Donald Trump saying he thinks her ad is fantastic.
It's fantastic. Okay. That's what I wouldn't have known, but I'm glad you told me that. If Sydney Sweeney is a registered Republican, I think her ad is fantastic. Okay.
This also exposed the woke. You know, it was like amazing how it was such a novel thing in 2025 to feature a attractive person in your advertisement. That was really the controversy here. That a hot chick got featured in an advertisement again. You know, so since the dawn of time, people who've been trying to sell things have been using attractive people to sell them. You know, look at Michelangelo's David sculpture, for instance. Like what was sculpted and painted was typically attractive people. Since the dawn of advertising, especially modern advertising, you've used attractive people to sell things because your ads should be aspirational. American Eagle attributes record-breaking new customer acquisition to Sydney Sweeney. It worked out great for American Eagle. But the woke were exposed because, of course, they lost their minds. They had public meltdowns and freakouts. But my favorite, and there's too many to play for you, my favorite is, without a doubt, Lizzo. Lizzo's replication of the Great Genes ad was meant to be some type of own of Sydney Sweeney.
It's way too hot up in
like
here. I'm sweating out of my lace. Don't need no bottle service. We pulled up with our drinks.
Okay. I'm gonna have dinner soon. So thanks for proving to us with like your fake wig there, your fake blonde wig, that like, yeah, there really is no substitute for good genes. You done proved
Genes
the
are
point.
passed down
Lizzo,
from parents
right?
to offspring.
Okay.
Often.
The reason why we're talking about this, you know, and this was from July 24 of 2025. So this is almost a year old, this original ad. And the reason we're talking about it is because they're back again. New Sydney Sweeney campaign has American Eagle stock flying again. Every single time they do this, the stock goes thermonuclear and parabolic. Look at this. Today, it's up 10%. Today, the American Eagle stock is up. You could be a great trader if you had traded on whether American Eagle is going to release a Sydney Sweeney ad, which is what they did right here. It's what they're doing now. Boop, right back up again because they released another Sydney Sweeney ad. Here we go. Woke down bad. Here we go.
What brand am I wearing? Yeah, that one. American Eagle jean short.
American Eagle.
Guys, it's Sydney Sweeney. I am on set with American Eagle, and this is my favorite look. I can't wait to share more pieces with you guys on AE.com, but check out these shorts because they are everything. Hold on, look. Get ready for summer.
White boy summer, ladies and gentlemen, is upon us. American Eagle gains after launching new Sydney Sweeney ad campaign. American Eagle Outfitters jumped. Shares rose as much as 9% in pre-market trading. The stock had declined over the year. And the campaign will focus on jean shorts. They sold out last time that they dropped a Sydney Sweeney banger. The retailers got a lift last year of the campaign by Sydney Sweeney, great jeans. The company said last year that it would be introducing more marketing with Sydney Sweeney. Okay, go ahead. Sydney Sweeney has the last laugh in the second American Eagle campaign ad. Why is she having the last laugh? Well, because they all came to cancel Sydney Sweeney. They wanted American Eagle to delete this ad. This is how offensive being a beautiful person is, being just a white person in society, being something aspirational to these goblins. They wanted American Eagle to delete these ads. They said it's offensive. They said it's a Nazi ad. They just literally tripled down with an even more blonde Sydney Sweeney. American Eagle's back. The ads see Sweeney ditching the second half of her name and just going with her lower half, posting cutoffs, baby tee, breezy button shirt. What am I wearing?
This one okay, you guys?
Just like Sydney Sweeney's first American Eagle collab, jeans, so on. There's something timeless about a great pair of jean shorts. They're simple. They make you feel comfortable. Sweeney's debut was denim-centric. However, the ads, which raised the 28-year-old star's great jeans, sparked controversy. The word jeans. Oh, okay. In a press release after the backlash, Sydney called this surreal. American Eagles backed their star, whose custom design for the company sold out in days. Again, stock doing great.
What brand am I wearing?
There you go. Tried to ruin her for jeans ad. They failed again. Sydney Sweeney is back as America's sweetheart. Just a reminder that this led to one of the single greatest moments in X-meme history when this smarmy longhouse wicked reporter, right? This is like, there's no other way to explain it. This is like this is the meme now, right? This face, like the meme of the condescending, passive-aggressive longhouse B. And Sydney Sweeney she's asking about the Sydney Sweeney jeans ad.
The criticism of the content, which was basically that maybe specifically in this political climate, like white people shouldn't joke about genetic superiority. Like that was kind of like the criticism, broadly speaking. And since you are talking about this, I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that specifically.
I think that when I have an issue that I want to speak about, people will hear.
The criticism of the...
Perfect response. Republicans could learn from responses like this. Hey, do you want to disavow white supremacy real quick? No. Decade of the chud. Also, when anybody's looking at you like this and contorting their face like that, this is a trap. And the only proper response is to look at them like that. That's the only correct response. Good to see that we're still doubling down on destroying woke. Destroy the woke. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Okay, I got a 7-minute Q video.
DVD drives.
What's up, family? Welcome back to Out of the Darkness. I am Q. Well, Ilhan Omar is on her way out. She is seconds from getting the boot. Is there anything about this woman that isn't completely fraudulent? This woman started her relationship with the United States, coming in as a guest into our country, into our homeland. And by the way, she has at no point ever stopped criticizing our homeland, even though her own homeland is an absolute wasteland and a crap hole country. But she comes into this country, she criticizes as if she had any point of reference for something better. And by the way, if you do go there, but this woman comes here, begins her relationship with this nation by being fraudulent and having a fraudulent marriage between her and her brother. Now, I'm supposed to say allegedly here, but I've seen the paperwork. I've sat down with people in the Minnesota House, in the Minnesota Senate. I've looked at the paperwork. It's not too hard to prove that she was married to her brother in order to help move citizenship papers along. So that part should not even be disputed at this point. But then in addition to that, she has sat back in her own district. She's watched millions and millions of dollars be embezzled by her own constituents and own countrymen, has never at any point stood up and said, this is not how we act, this is wrong. She's never stood up for America, even though America stood up for her and welcomed her into its welcoming arms. So then, in addition to that, she stood up and said, well, some people did something on 9/11, not even showing reverence, not even admitting that the people who were part of her religion justified doing some very, very evil things on that day during 9/11. Forgive me for this win. So then fast forward now, we finally have people in the House. We finally have a president who says, you know what, we're sick of this. We're not going to continue to play these games. We're not going to continue to pacify a woman who at every turn chops down and cuts down and speaks ill of our own country. Meanwhile, she's serving as a representative. She's serving in the United States Congress, but yet she'll never miss an opportunity to talk about how racist and how awful our country is and how people don't have opportunities. But now this is the final straw. There are documents, financial disclosure documents that must be submitted to the governing bodies in order to serve in Congress. You're essentially a federal employee. You have to show how much you're worth and what you're worth or why you're worth that. You've got to show these disclosure documents. Now, the last time these documents were shown, she was supposed to be worth between $6 and $30 million, but that brought on a lot of scrutiny because there were many reports of her sending money back to Somalia and possibly money getting back into the hands of Al-Shabaab, which is a terrorist organization. But now they've resubmitted those documents and that said, no, her total assets are worth $18,000 to $95,000. Where did all the money go? And how does that work? How do you have a rounding error that large? And then, just like every other Democrat, it's not her fault. It was the company who does her accounting. It was an accounting error. That's one heck of an accounting error. 95,000 down from 30 million? Are you kidding me? And then that raises another question. They say, oh, she's not rich at all. Why is this a race to the bottom? The woman is a United States Congresswoman. Why is it a race to the bottom? She makes over $200,000 a year, and she's worth $18,000 to $95,000. Really? After all of these years of being so, either you are fraudulent or you are stupid. One of the two. I'm not sure which one it is. Cannot quite make it up because at this point, I know that we're being lied to. But I want to hear directly from the accounting firm in Minnesota or wherever this accounting firm is that mistook $18,000 to $95,000 net worth to be a $6 to $30 million net worth. And I also want to see some people go to jail because you falsified a document. She had to sign off on this. This is not just I'm the victim. No, she signed off on a federal document and says, I certify that this is right, that this is correct. And guess what? She was a liar. You cannot sign off on your taxes and say, yes, I certify that this was correct. And then, oh, my accountant made an error. You think the IRS is going to care? If we live in a society in which no one is above the law, which the Democrats continue to remind us that no one is above the law, then I submit to you that Ilhan Omar has to stand trial for this and should be going to prison. End of story. She falsified federal documents, and that is the start, just the beginning. Start digging. You will find the rest of the fraud. The money that was being funneled from the daycare centers going to her campaign, it's there. I promise you. Let me know what you guys think about this story. I'll see you guys next time. Be blessed.
Okay, that was a little longer one than normal. You had a good one out. We'll go to 8:30 tonight, you guys. Benny must be getting a lot of news because I got at least two more Benny videos to play. One is Cash video that just came out. So he has something on Cash.
What are
They are coming for Kash Patel at the FBI. Now, I'll leave it up to you as to what that means. Is that a good thing for Kash? They are fighting him so hard and attacking him. Now, there are major leaks from inside of the FBI. There already were some leaks from Kash's old photos on an iCloud drive somewhere. Iran was able to publish some pictures of Kash Patel on vacation. Nothing particularly sordid. Seemed like a totally normal dude, smoking a cigar, having a scotch, but like, he was on vacation. I mean, whatever. Like, it was long before he was ever FBI director. But now there's a new report out saying that Kash Patel drinks in excess and is so drunk that he doesn't even wake up for work. He's paranoid about being fired. Bombshell report complains that he is MIA. Here it is. FBI director is MIA. Kash Patel alarmed colleagues with episodes of excessive drinking and unexplained absences. This is from The Atlantic. And here's what the article has to say. Kash Patel has grown deeply paranoid. He fears being fired. He's drinking heavily, raising concerns among officials in Washington. Bombshell report in The Atlantic. And consider the source. Of course, The Atlantic is a far left-wing, extremist left-wing slop magazine that has published numbers of hoaxes against the president. It's actually the hoax of choice publication, right? So consider with this with a grain of salt and then wait till you see what happens next. But here are the allegations, okay? And we're going to move through this entire story. It details allegations that members of Patel's security team have been unable to wake him on multiple occasions due to his excessive drinking. At one point, staffers allegedly requested a breaching equipment used by SWAT raids in hostage situations to try and break down his door, according to The Atlantic. Patel is known to enjoy alcohol and has frequently appeared visibly intoxicated at clubs in Washington and in Las Vegas. He reportedly also enraged the president after he was filmed chucking a beer with the men's hockey team after their Olympic victory. Colleagues say that his conduct has become erratic amid increased paranoia. Just last week, Patel spiraled into a nervous breakdown and mistakenly believed he had been fired due to a technical issue that left him locked out of the system, The Atlantic reports. This is an actual real photograph. He was celebrating. My timeline showed like that there was nobody in my timeline had any problem with this. It's like what guys do when there's great excessive victories and everybody wishes to celebrate. Everybody loved that Team USA won the hockey gold medal, and so did Kash Patel. Fine. He plays hockey with a lot of them, by the way. Kash Patel is like a semi-pro hockey player. Fun fact. Fearing that he was about to get fired by the Trump administration, he allegedly called allies in a panic. Quickly reached the White House. Officials told the outlet that they are increasingly alarmed about whether the FBI could respond to a national crisis like a terror attack with Patel at the helm. That's what keeps me up at night. Patel is staunchly denied the Atlantic's claim, and he threatened to sue the outlet. Post on X, Patel shared a screenshot of the FBI communications official Benjamin Williamson to Fitzpatrick, which described the article as completely false and nearly 100% clip. The email read, top to bottom, this is one of the most absurd things that I've ever read, completely false, 100% clip, and with a 2-hour deadline. In the caption, Patel wrote, "See you and your entire entourage of false reporting in court." Okay. So, the Atlantic published a bombshell. This is one of the women who works closely as a communication strategist in the Kash Patel universe. Her name's Erica Knight. Bombshell story on Kash Patel tonight. Here is that story, by the way, in the Atlantic. There you go. I just read you the summary of it. Free to read it for yourself, as always. Here's the reality. After being sworn in, Patel has taken a grand total of 17 days off, half as much time as Comey and Wray. He spends twice as much time in the office as either of them ever did. So-called intoxication events, the Atlantic breathfully reports about, happened 0 times under his tenure. 67,000, a bunch of crime-fighting data. Okay, good stuff. The Atlantic's reporting fabricated stories about breaching equipment that was never requested, intoxication claims not a single witness can put their name on, a paragraph, I'm not kidding, about an FBI store not carrying intimidating enough merchandise. Every serious DC reporter passed on this, but Jeffrey Goldberg printed it anyway. Jeffrey Goldberg is the guy who printed that Donald Trump called all the people who died in Normandy suckers and losers. Now, that's a lie, that's not what happened. And I know that because we know people that were directly in Trump's orbit at that time. They work in the White House today. And that's not, Trump didn't say that. Doesn't even sound like Trump. Anyway, Jeffrey Goldberg is the guy who helped publish this. He leads the Atlantic magazine, and he published that fake thing about Trump. It was fake story. Okay. See you and your entire entourage false reporting in court, but do keep at it with fake news. Actual malice standards is now what some would call a legal layup. Look at this. Whoa. So here you go. Patel's advisors say a lawsuit is being filed. Fitzpatrick, I stand by every word of our reporting. We have excellent attorneys. Okay, so they're all planning to sue each other now over this false report. This article is a compilation of pretty much every obvious fake rumor that I've heard for the last 14 months, except the Atlantic is the only one dumb enough to actually print it. Here's reporter Sarah Fitzpatrick.
Okay, so to recap, we gave away over $1 million in fan cash last December.
I still got a lot, as I said, a lot of shorts tonight, no long ones. A 3-part clip on Adam Schiff, watermelon, and a 5-part military stuff in underground or the submarine. They're about 2 minutes apiece, I think.
Yeah. And what did she say about it? She said they had problems waking him up because he was so intoxicated. So they've been now sued by this law firm that is representing Kash Patel. And you can read the lawsuit here. Or this is a cease and desist, right? Boom. Bankrupt her. I'm saying, go get after these dirtbags. Go after these dirtbags, Kash. Sue the hell out of them. I've criticized Kash Patel's leadership of the FBI, but the Atlantic hit job is a total joke. Half-baked rumors warmed over press clippings. Patel must be doing a great job. If the suckers and losers, Jeffrey Goldberg, and 4 of his reporters can't find, this is all they can find in their prize-winning sleuthing. And as if the Atlantic had a single source close to the White House, let alone 2. The Biden White House, maybe. Stay frosty, my friends. The administration is doing their job without regard. Peanut gallery, I see you. Yeah. Chairman of the Intelligence Committee, I regularly work with Director Patel. He's being dishonestly smeared by a partisan outlet. I've never seen anything like this. Patel has been extremely effective. Good work. When the New York Times and the trash smear you, good reason. So a bunch of people exporting Kash Patel here. The Atlantic is a housing post for rich people. What's most noticeable about this, the Atlantic ran a story with a few on-the-record quotes, various claims, but never did the same on Swalwell. Yes, right. Here's my take on this. After having lived through, the last 15 years of politics, these people who do this stuff off the record, these people that talk off the record or on background, they're lying. They're liars. They're making up salacious stories. Remember when Donald Trump reached through the bulletproof glass and steel in order to grab the steering wheel on January 6th? Remember that? That was congressional testimony. That person's being charged by the DOJ. These are lies. They're just baseless and total lies. And so I just don't agree. I don't believe them. I don't believe that. You've lost all credibility. Put your name on the record. You really believe in something? Put your name on the record. Go do a whistleblower complaint. Go to the IG, do a whistleblower complaint, talk to the lawyers at the FBI. Don't go snitch out to the Atlantic. Gum. I hope they sue him. I bet you do too. Let me know in the comments. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
Okay, another one of Benny. I got the next three. Watermelon.
To read for the record many of the chairman's comments in September of the importance of hearing from the whistleblower. Again, Ambassador, thank you for your patience. Thank you for your service. But since we haven't been able to conduct ourselves in normal procedures, I'm just going to use the 5 minutes for this. September 29th in the Wall Street Journal, quote, the whistleblower at the center of the impeachment investigation of President Trump will testify in the House very soon. This is a quote by the chairman. USA Today, September 29th. Talking with ABC News this week, Schiff, the Democrat who chairs the House Intelligence Committee, said the whistleblower would testify very soon. And the only thing standing in the way was getting security clearances for the attorneys representing the whistleblower so they could attend the testimony. From Vox, September 29th, Rep. Adam Schiff said Sunday the whistleblower at the center of a growing scandal surrounding President Donald Trump will testify before the House Intelligence Committee very soon. On CNN, September 29th, Schiff said Sunday on ABC as well as NBC's Meet the Press that he expects the whistleblower to testify very soon. The Washington Post, September 29th. In an appearance on ABC News this week, Schiff echoed Pelosi's message. He also said he expected the Intelligence Committee to hear from the whistleblower very soon, pending a security clearance from Acting Director of National Intelligence, Joseph McGuire. In the Huffington Post, Schiff told ABC's This Week that he expects the whistleblower to appear before this committee very soon. In the New York Post, quote, we'll get the unfiltered testimony of that whistleblower. In the Washington Times, quote, that whistleblower will be allowed to come in. These are all quotes from Chairman Adam Schiff. In Talking Points memo, the question was posed, actually this was by George Stephanopoulos, have you reached an agreement yet with the whistleblower and his or her attorneys about coming before the committee and providing the information firsthand? Quote, yes, we have, Schiff responded. And as DNI McGuire promised during the hearing, that whistleblower will be allowed to come in without a minder from the Justice Department or from the White House to tell the whistleblower what they can and cannot say. We'll get the unfiltered testimony of that whistleblower. In Daily Kos, we're ready to hear from the whistleblower as soon as that is done, and we'll keep obviously riding shotgun to make sure that the acting director doesn't delay in that clearance process. In CNBC, we'll get the unfiltered testimony of that whistleblower. In Market Watch, House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff said Sunday that an agreement has been reached under which the whistleblower will testify before the committee very soon. I can keep going, but again, the chairman refused to allow us to put these into the record with unanimous consent. So I've read those out. And as we know, it is important to protect whistleblowers from retaliation and from firing. And we want to make sure whistleblowers are able to come forward. But in this case, the fact that we are getting criticized by Chairman Adam Schiff for statements that he himself made early on in this process shows the duplicity and just the abuse of power that we are continuing to see. With a minute 54 seconds left, I'll yield to my colleague, Mr. Jordan.
I think, but there's still 4 people we've deposed that we have not been able to see their transcripts, have their transcripts released, and therefore the testimony they provided we're not able to use in these open hearings. If it's an open hearing, all the available testimony
with their unanimous.
Okay, part 2.
should be available to be discussed for the American people to see. But no. Mr. Morris and Mr. Hale and 2 other, Ms. Williams, 2 others have, and another one have not yet been released. So I hope the chairman releases that. One other point I would make in the last minute of Ms. Stefanik's time. the Democrats have asserted that this whole thing with Ambassador Yovanovitch was part of some sinister scheme by the White House to get Mr. Zelensky to do an investigation, President Zelensky to do an investigation. If recalling Ambassador Yovanovitch was part of some scheme by Trump and Pompeo and Giuliani to get President Zelensky to do an investigation, why would they replace her with the Democrats' first witness, their star witness, Bill Taylor? I mean, if that's the plan, not the best plan I've ever seen put together. Their star witness, their first witness, Mr. Taylor, was here Wednesday. That's what we're up to. I think it just demonstrates that is not what went on here. Mr. Zelensky never undertook any investigations. And the reason the aid was released, as we discussed on Wednesday, was because Vice President Pence, Ambassador Bolton, and U.S. senators all talked with President Zelensky, and they were convinced he was the real deal, as the ambassador has alluded to in her testimony. That's why the money was released. That I yield back.
First, most of what the whistleblower has alleged has been corroborated by the witnesses that we have heard from. Second, the president, who my colleagues so shamelessly continue to defend, continue to pressure, threaten, and intimidate the whistleblower. So I'd like unanimous consent to put into the record a September 26, 2019 article from Business Insider. Trump suggested the whistleblower who filed a complaint against him is guilty of treason, which is punishable by death. Without objection. How about September 26, 2019, Vanity Fair? Trump suggests executing the whistleblower's sources, like, quote, in the good old days. Third, without objection. September 29th, whistleblower's lawyer raises fear for client safety. Without objection. From Axios. Mr. Chairman, the whistleblower has an absolute right to anonymity. The whistleblower's lawyer has said that he fears for his personal safety and will only answer questions now in writing. I wish my colleagues would join me in protecting the whistleblower's right to anonymity. But
guys, this is a kangaroo court at this point. Adam Schiff belongs in jail because he's trying to prosecute Donald Trump by saying he has a whistleblower from God knows where, pulling somebody out the woodworks to bring him on.
Threatened the whistleblower the whole entire time, basically, to not come in.
Exactly.
And all this was done in a private hearing. Elise just basically points it out to everybody in America. She's like a bipartisan. You know, for her to point it out, she doesn't necessarily have a position, a side that she supports. She just supports righteousness.
Exactly. Let's keep going, guys. Long video. Make sure you hit that subscribe button.
Mr. Ivanovich, I want to follow up on some of the questions from my colleagues.
Okay, part 3, last part. There's watermelon.
So I want to bring our attention to someone who thought you were actually very important to this whole plot or scheme, and that is the President of the United States. There was only one ambassador, I believe, who was discussed by the President in the July 25th call, and that was you, Ambassador Yovanovitch. And I want to refer back to how you were brought up in that conversation. At one point during the conversation, the President brings up this prosecutor who was very good, and it was shut down, and that's really unfair. And I think you indicated earlier that that was a likely reference to Mr. Lutsenko, the corrupt prosecutor. Is that right?
I believe that is the case, but I don't know.
So immediately after the President brings up this corrupt former prosecutor, only one, I'm sorry, my staff is correcting me, only one American ambassador is brought up in the call. Immediately after the President brings up this corrupt prosecutor that he praises and says he was treated very unfairly, he then encourages Zelensky to speak with Giuliani, the guy who orchestrated the smear campaign against you, correct?
Yes.
And he then brings you up. So he praises the corrupt prosecutor. He says, I want you to talk to Giuliani, the guy who smeared you. And then he brings you up. He obviously thought you were relevant to this. But what is even more telling is immediately after he brings you up, and says that you, the woman, was bad news. He says there's a lot to talk about Biden's son, that Biden stopped the prosecution, and a lot of people want to find out about that. So whatever you can do with the Attorney General would be great. Immediately after praising this corrupt prosecutor, he attacks you. And then he goes right to Biden. That would indicate to you, wouldn't it, Ambassador, that he connects you somehow with this prosecutor you were at odds with and his desire to see this investigation of Biden go forward, would it not?
Again, you're absolutely right that that is the thought progression.
My colleagues also asked, in pushing you out of the way, ultimately Ambassador Taylor got appointed. Is Ambassador Taylor the kind of person that would further Giuliani's aims? And I think we can all agree that Ambassador Taylor is a remarkable public servant.
Absolutely.
But what if the president was completely irrelevant to the issues at hand? Why are you even here? Isn't this just some small matter that should have been referred to HR? So I want to bring our attention to someone who thought you were actually very important to this whole plot or scheme.
Sorry about that. Okay, I got an important one to play here. He has a lot of views on this one. 12 minutes.
Third world Congresswoman Ilhan Omar for something very suspicious that happened when she married her husband. She became a multi-millionaire. It was very, very odd. This happened while she was in office. She's still in office. But this scrutiny from these investigations is causing her to absolutely panic. And now she's trying to make excuses for why this happened. Remember, Donald Trump has called for these investigations, and he's been heavily critical of her, calling her garbage, saying that it's these types of people who come from nothing, who gain, immense wealth, who are complaining the most when they came from nothing and now their lives are substantially better, yet they somehow feel like it is incumbent on them to try to tell the United States of America how to run their country. Remember, this is exactly the criticism that Donald Trump levied at Ilhan Omar.
Our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other. And we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell.
If you're an active person like me and have anal hernia, I want you to try something for me real quick. Take your first two fingers like.
But remember, she used to be worth almost nothing. In fact, I think she was actually in debt, and she got elected to office. And a few years later, she married her husband, who owned a couple of businesses. Those businesses were only worth a few $1,000s.
Okay, I just got a text. I already played that videos on that. So we're going to move on and get a lot of, got like 10 short clips.
Chico! President Trump and the move to disarm Iran. Thing terrifies cable news more than something happening without their permission slip. Scott Jennings hits back hard with facts and gives them a much-needed reality check. And New Jersey is about to take a hard. Jersey's about to send a socialist to Washington, D.C. AOC Bernie Sanders already warming up the champagne like it's 1917 all over again.
And Zohran Mamdani is basically right there with them, popping the cork early after rolling out this that will hit New York for the very first time ever. And just when you think the day can't get any more surreal, Gavin Newsom jumps in playing Oprah with taxpayer-funded money, handing out elective cosmetic procedures to people who aren't even citizens, like it's a giveaway show nobody agreed to attend. You're wondering where your money is going? Apparently the answer is everywhere except the bill you actually opened. Smash that like button if you think taxpayer dollars should not be funding elective surgeries, especially for non-citizens. Just a wild concept, apparently. We've got a packed show today. Let's jump straight in. We start with some breaking news. Behind the scenes, President Trump has been pushing for a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon while Iran negotiations continue to grind forward. And today, that pressure reportedly produced a temporary truce. Reportedly picked up the phone this morning, calling both Netanyahu and Lebanon's leadership. And just like that, the temperature drops fast. Only under Trump do you get a timeline like this. Missiles in the morning, ceasefire by the afternoon. No endless, we'll circle back. No diplomatic slow walk. Just pressure applied until something actually moves. Meanwhile, Iran is still getting squeezed economically with pressure in the Strait of Hormuz, keeping their energy lifeline under strain. So now the question isn't really what happens next, it's who cracks first. And if you're looking at the scoreboard here, the smart money isn't exactly a mystery. All the leverage is pointing one direction, and it's not toward Tehran. Now, this is an effort you would think Democrats fully back after leaders of their party said this. When Donald Trump actually takes those same Democrat talking points and turns them into action, suddenly the entire left develops political amnesia. Because now that 47 made a move to take out a terrorist regime's nuclear capability, the reaction on the left isn't relief, it's outrage, confusion, and a whole lot of backpedaling. At this point, their case of TDS, it's not mild, it's full-blown state. A lot to unpack there, but don't worry, I'll keep it simple enough for Ms. Demings to follow. Before I get to her truly impressive display of mental gymnastics, here's Secretary Pete Hegseth this morning, doing what the media refuses to do, telling the truth out loud. Pretty much says it all. The left isn't just biased anymore, they're emotionally unhinged. Their obsession with hating Donald Trump has completely fried their ability to process reality. Now let's walk through this slowly, since there seems to be widespread confusion about what an actual strategy looks like. The claim that President Donald Trump doesn't have one isn't just wrong, it ignores the sequence entirely. You start with diplomacy. That door was opened, and it became clear it wasn't leading anywhere productive. At that point, you don't sit around hoping for better intentions, you adjust. So next, media is
Part two.
Before I get to her truly impressive display of mental gymnastics, here's Secretary Pete Hegseth this morning, doing what the media refuses to do. The left isn't just biased anymore, they're emotionally unhinged. Their obsession with hating Donald Trump has completely fried their ability to process reality. Now let's walk through this slowly, since there seems to be widespread confusion about what an actual strategy looks like. The claim that President Donald Trump doesn't have one isn't just wrong, it ignores the sequence entirely. You start with diplomacy. That door was opened, and it became clear it wasn't leading anywhere productive. At that point, you don't sit around hoping for better intentions, you adjust. So next comes limiting the threat itself. Not with statements or panel discussions, but by targeting the capabilities that make the threat real in the first place. Because here's the reality. You don't leave a hostile regime with an intact military, air force, and missile capability while debating your feelings about it on TV. That's not strategy, that is a countdown timer. So yes, you neutralize the threat. Then you tighten the pressure economically and strategically so they can't rebuild. That's the phase we're in now. And then you get to the actual definition of win, which apparently still needs explaining in 2026. They don't get a nuclear weapon, period. I don't understand why this is so hard to understand for the folks over at CNN, because even morning joke of bankruptcy, reportedly bleeding more than $400 million a day. And while the US is tightening pressure around the strait, President Donald Trump is also playing a broader game of strategic chess with China, which relies, by the way, on Iran for roughly 40 to 50% of its oil imports. But it doesn't stop there. China also depends on additional maritime routes like the Strait of Malacca. It is a key global choke point involving Indonesia. So if you think this is just about one pressure point, you are missing the larger picture. Is leverage stacking. You don't just negotiate with China in a vacuum, you negotiate with all the inputs that China depends on. The critics completely miss the point. You don't deal with China like it's one simple phone call or one single issue. It's a web, energy, trade, supply chains, regional security, all tied together. And when you start adjusting those pressure points at the same time, the whole dynamic shifts. But instead of stepping back and seeing the bigger picture, Democrats tend to reduce it to slogans and outrage. And that mindset problem doesn't stay in foreign policy, unfortunately. It shows up at home too, including what we're watching in New Jersey. Voters are headed to the polls today for a special election to fill now Governor Mikey Sherrill's congressional seat. It sure looks like the 11th district may elect Ana Lilia Mejia, who critics are already calling not just far left, but potentially the most ideological extreme member of Congress on day one. Quite an entrance there. And when you actually look at the platform, it starts to make sense why people are raising eyebrows. We're talking about Medicare for all, expanded to what she includes as a definition as essential health care for transgenders. She also wants free college tuition, 21 pack there. But
okay, our TikTok lady. Got the California lady with two of them, and then we'll do that 5-part military submarine, which is submarine clips.
Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison. A bombshell has now exploded within the state assembly on that threatens to drag several Democrats to prison alongside these two crooks, as they too benefited from the immigration fraud scheme in Minnesota. I witnessed Democrats supporting the impeachment proceedings against Walz and Ellison during the House Rules Committee hearing. Could it be that, to avoid going to prison themselves, they now intend to hand over the ringleader behind these multi-billion-dollar frauds? Not a chance, my friends. Everyone must pay the price. If you assisted in the scheme to divert American taxpayer dollars, you must be held accountable. 4 members of this very committee have been implicated for benefiting from the scheme for Democratic politicians who turned a blind eye and provided political cover for the governor. Yet now, the situation has taken a stunning turn that could land every single one of these fraudsters behind bars. However, as the saying goes, it's not all sunshine and roses, and the American people demand an answer. When exactly will the stolen funds be returned? The exact amount is estimated to run into the billions. If they are unable to repay the full sum stolen through these immigration frauds, their salaries must be frozen immediately. And their retirement funds, real estate holdings, luxury vehicles, and investments must be confiscated. This would leave them with virtually nothing. Furthermore, once they are sent to prison, they should be put to work to pay off what they stole from the taxpayers. And even then, they likely still wouldn't be able to fully reimburse the taxpayers for what was stolen. For the scale of this fraud is so immense that neither their children nor their grandchildren would ever be able to repay what Walz, along with all his criminal accomplices, stole from the American people. Minnesota state legislators may—
We got 2 more, 3 of them. We'll play this one.
Show his face on cable news, pretending to be mad about Trump just for attention.
Lady on TikTok.
And this is who he was. In this video, this is where he knows damn well how he's been behaving, and he's using his wife as a decoy, as a shield for his piss poor behavior. And in this video, my favorite part about this video is he only talks about himself.
Do you ever think I'd run for governor?
Absolutely not.
Did you think I could be governor?
Didn't cross my mind.
You ready to do like a public endorsement video?
I don't think you need mine. You have Adam Schiff. So.
He also issued this statement that he unequivocally denies each and every allegation of misconduct that has been leveled against him. Victim, 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 victim. These accusations are false, fabricated, and deeply offensive. Your face is deeply offensive. And he said it was a calculated political hit job to destroy the reputation of a man who spent virtually 20 years in public service. Okay, pardon me while I barf in a fucking bag. The timing, nature, and coordinated rollout of these vile and heinous allegations speak for themselves. This is neither about justice nor about the truth. This is a ruthless and shameless attempt to smear Congressman Swalwell. Congressman Swalwell has devoted his career to defending the Constitution, protecting civil liberties, and standing up to those who abuse power. That line in and of itself makes me want to barf in a bag and yeet myself out of a window. He has never wavered in that fight, and he will not waver now. We will fight these despicable and baseless accusations with the same tenacity, courage, and conviction that has defined the congressman's public service. We are confident that the truth will prevail, and we will pursue every available legal remedy against those responsible for orchestrating this reprehensible campaign of lies. Okay, I mean, where do I even begin here? Listen, disgraced Swalwell is a fucking pig. You guys know that less than 1% of rapes are falsely reported, that most women don't even report when these crimes occur. And I need you, before you even come for me, because we're going to talk a lot about this today, because I trust this audience to be smart and self-assured and bright enough to take this in. We need to resist the reflex to protect men accused of predatory behavior. If you feel uncomfortable by learning that somebody you care about, or you endorsed, or you supported, or you thought was a good person has done something terrible, you need to resist your impulse to defend men accused of predatory and dangerous behavior. If you feel uncomfortable, that is the perfect time to listen. If you don't know what to say, it's a great time to shut the fuck up. Because what? In an era of Trump, you find it so hard to believe that a man in a position of power behaved badly and took advantage of younger subordinates. God, he saw himself out because he had no real.
This is the second one. And I got a third one that she just came up.
Minnesota's corrupt governor and the state attorney who helped steal billions of dollars from American taxpayers. These are.
We'll play the other one.
Robberies in American history at the Supreme Court, aiming to benefit whoever put her there. My love, right now, a major legal battle is unfolding in this country. Now, as many of you may know, and if you don't, it's important, the Supreme Court of the United States has, in recent months, been deliberating on the role of race in electoral districting under the Voting Rights Act of 1965. For over 60 years, Democrats have drawn electoral districts across the country based on racial criteria. For over half a century, they've shaped district boundaries with the goal of including as many minority voters as possible while excluding as many white voters as possible. So this strategy would have been used to artificially increase the number of Democratic representatives in the House of Representatives. Ketanji Jackson is losing sleep because the Supreme Court justices could soon overturn this system, which was created solely to benefit Democrats in an unconstitutional way. With that, this corrupt party could lose about 12 seats in the House. However, the minority bloc on the Supreme Court, in Jackson's case, is trying its best to stall the decision and delay a final ruling, and states like Alabama, Louisiana, and others may not have enough time to implement changes before the elections. In other words, even with a favorable ruling, the effects may only be seen in 2028 or later, all of this orchestrated by liberal judges like Jackson to avoid Democratic losses in the 2026 elections. This is simply subversive behavior and a clear attempt to manipulate the system. Ketanji Jackson is...
Okay, now the last 5 clips will be the underground or the water submarine. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Should be right here. Part 1.
They shipped missiles to close the Strait of Hormuz. It all started deep within the transit lanes. According to alerts issued by the United Kingdom Maritime Trade Operations Center, a merchant tanker was navigating the waters roughly 20 nautical miles northeast of Oman. The ship's master reported being approached by 2 gunboats belonging to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC. But here is the crucial detail. The IRGC vessels didn't issue a standard VHF radio challenge. There was absolutely no warning. In the naval world, this is a severe and dangerous breach of standard maritime protocol. Instead, the two gunboats simply opened fire on the massive tanker. But physical damage wasn't really the primary goal here. The goal was to send a message. So, how will Iran and the US respond to this escalating blockade with their own military strategy? But here's the catch. Iran is just a small regional power, and they're trying to enforce a blockade against the world's most advanced navy. Well, Iran's strategy isn't to face the US head-on. It is to rely on asymmetric warfare. Take this for example. These two civilian ships are sailing near an aircraft carrier. Everything looks completely normal. But then, with the press of a button, a shipping container doors opens up and out comes a missile. These are the self-made Iranian anti-ship missiles, which can still pack a punch. This is instantly followed by a swarm of low-flying drones and fast attack boats from within the cargo ships, and not to forget the small midget submarines. These submarines can launch torpedoes at the same time. In quick succession, it can pass through the carrier's strike group defense system and even achieve 10% impact.
This is pretty cool, I think.
They might not sink the carrier, but they can damage it enough to make the waters too dangerous for the US to operate in. So let's look at the 4 key tactics they would likely...
Okay, part 2 of 5.
Tactic 1. First and perhaps most famous is the swarm. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy operates hundreds of small, fast attack craft armed with heavy machine guns, rockets, and anti-ship missiles. The tactic here is simple, but deadly. Instead of trying to fight a US destroyer one-on-one, which they would lose, they deploy dozens of small boats simultaneously from every direction. The goal is to overwhelm the US ship's defensive systems, like the phalanx, by presenting more targets than the ship can track and destroy at once. Moving to tactic 2, mining the strait. Next, we have the silent killer, mining the Strait of Hormuz. This is the world's most critical oil choke point. Iran maintains an inventory of thousands of naval mines, including smart mines that can listen for the specific acoustic signatures of enemy ships. In a conflict, Iran could use submarines, small boats, or even disguised civilian vessels to drop mines right into the shipping lanes. The goal here isn't just military, it's economic. This would deny the US Navy safe passage and immediately spike global oil prices, inflicting massive economic pain on the US and its allies. Here comes tactic 3, the kill zone. Third is the geographic advantage, coastal missile batteries. The Iranian coastline is mountainous and rugged, perfect cover for mobile missile launchers. The regime also employs shoot and scoot tactics using truck-mounted cruise and ballistic missiles. They fire a missile and immediately move to a new hiding spot before the US can strike back. This effectively turns the Gulf into a kill zone, where US ships are under constant threat of fire from land with nowhere to hide. Tactic 4. We have the ambush threat, midget submarines. The Persian Gulf is actually quite shallow, which makes it difficult for massive US nuclear submarines to operate. However, they would likely use...
Part 3.
subs, like the Gatter class. These small subs can sit silently on the seafloor, waiting for a target to pass overhead before firing torpedoes. It's a surprise ambush tactic designed to damage high-value assets, like carriers or destroyers, while remaining almost impossible to detect by sonar. These small but stealthy diesel-electric submarines, designed for operations in the shallow waters of the Persian Gulf, pose a significant threat to U.S. aircraft carriers. The Gatter-class submarines, which are difficult to detect due to their small size and low acoustic signature, could position themselves in strategic locations near key naval choke points, such as the Strait of Hormuz. Equipped with heavyweight torpedoes and capable of deploying naval mines, these submarines could launch surprise attacks on U.S. aircraft carriers. By waiting in ambush near expected carrier movements, Yatter-class submarines could fire a coordinated torpedo strike, targeting the hull and propulsion systems of U.S. carriers. A successful torpedo strike on an aircraft carrier could disable its flight deck operations, significantly reducing the U.S. Navy's ability to project air power in the region. Additionally, these submarines could lay underwater mines in critical sea lanes, forcing U.S. warships into predetermined ambush zones where Iranian missile and drone attacks could follow up. Tactic 5. We can't ignore the aerial threat. This is drone warfare. Iran has invested heavily in becoming a drone superpower in the Middle East. In a conflict, they would use UAVs not just for surveillance, but as loitering munitions, essentially suicide drones. The tactic is to launch them in massive waves to crash into the sensitive radar dishes and flight decks of U.S. ships. The goal is to blind the fleet's sensors and halt flight operations, leaving the ships vulnerable to missile attacks. So how exactly would the U.S. enforce a blockade on top of it? However,
Okay, 2 more.
instead of risking massive aircraft carriers in such narrow waters, the Navy would rely on guided missile destroyers. They'd likely position one in the north, one in the center, and keep a third on standby as backup. But here is the major problem. Iran wouldn't just fight with missiles. They use sea mines. In this scenario, they could drop them all over the strait, with some even drifting into the waters of neighboring Arab countries. So how do you remove these sea mines? The answer is the literal combat ship. These vessels can launch unmanned surface vehicles to sweep the area. And when surface drones can't reach the deep minefields, the Navy launched the knife fish. This robotic submarine dives straight into the danger zone to hunt and identify buried mines, detonating them safely using magnetic and acoustic signals. But the danger isn't over. Iran still commands a small swarms of fast Mosquito boats capable of threatening massive U.S. warships. To counter this swarm, the U.S. can launch fast attack Apache helicopters to chase down and neutralize the boats with its 30mm chain gun. What would happen if the United States military was ordered to completely lock down the Strait of Hormuz? The answer is simple but brutal. It wouldn't be a swift, clean victory. It would be the most complex, grueling, and high-risk naval operation since World War II. How does the U.S. establish the front line? The answer lies in Phase 1, the picket line and the quiet hunters. The tip of the spear wouldn't be a massive aircraft carrier. Those are simply too valuable and vulnerable to sit inside a narrow, 21-mile-wide strait. Instead, the U.S. would rely on a wolf pack of 4 to 6 Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyers. The destroyers would position themselves in a layered patrol box, one ship watching the northern approach near the Iranian coast, one covering the deep channel in the center, and the third hanging back as a rapid response reserve. Their collective radar coverage creates an invisible dome over the strait. Nothing flies, nothing sails, and nothing wants to enforce a blockade on top of an Iranian blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Instead of risking massive aircraft carriers in such narrow waters, the Navy would rely on guided missile destroyers. They'd likely position one in the north, one in the center, and keep a third on standby as backup. But here is the major problem. Iran would...
Okay, last one.
happens beneath the waves? The answer is the Virginia-class attack submarine, patrolling silently at 400 feet. She carries heavyweight Mark 48 torpedoes capable of snapping surface ships in half. To the IRGC, she is completely invisible. Her job is to handle the nightmare scenario. If Iran's Kilo-class submarines attempt to break the blockade or relay mines in the deep channel, she kills them before they ever surface. But what about the mines? Will they be a problem for the U.S. destroyers? The answer is absolutely yes. This brings us to Phase 2, the robotic minesweepers. Here is where Hollywood imagination fails. A blockade's greatest threat is not always incoming missiles. It's contact mines and influence mines, cheap, patient, and highly lethal devices. Iran has dropped these all over the Strait of Hormuz, and many have even drifted away to neighboring Arab states. So how does the U.S. clear these hidden killers? The answer is the Independence-class Littoral Combat Ship LCS. These ships operate on a completely different philosophy. They are not minesweepers in the traditional sense. They are robotic motherships designed to sit safely outside the minefield while their drones do the work. The process is strictly calculated: detect, localize, classify, identify, and neutralize. This is step 1. The first machine off the Littoral Combat Ship stern ramp is the Common Unmanned Surface Vehicle. It is a 39-foot unmanned boat that operates on the surface, towing sonar equipment behind it like a long, patient finger tracing the seafloor. Here comes step 2. While the Common Unmanned Surface Vehicle crawls across the surface, the answer is the MA-60 Seahawk. This helicopter launches from the LCS flight deck and begins scanning the exact same patch of water from 100 feet above, looking for floating threats. Neither the Common Unmanned Surface Vehicle nor the Seahawk can go deep. So what dives into the minefield it touches from shore?
Okay, guys. I did a lot of short ones tonight. We've been doing too many long ones. So we had a good day of intel. So tomorrow I might wait till a little later. I might do 5 or 6. So check with me in the evening time. Everybody have a good rest of the Saturday and have a good Sunday, and see you sometime tomorrow evening. Unless something breaks. If something breaks, I'll be on. So thanks much. Bonnie, okay, Lucy, Carol, Tim. And God bless everybody. Love all. Or reasons like. Stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith. Never go up. Signing off. Chico Dude for Saturday. Have a good one, you guys. See you tomorrow.